Welcome back to What Arty Noobs with General Disturbance. We are still conducting tests on our sound to try and get the recordings back to normal. You're looking at an AMX 13F3AM, the Tier 6 French SPG. This one's located on the north spawn of Prokhorovka and is under the command of Wazwulf. Yes, I'm sorry Wazwulf, we have to use your replay as one of the test subjects. Game on. Well, this Arty has a 155mm howitzer, which is capable of doing 600 alpha if I remember correctly. I started the battle, I didn't actually have my notes in front of me, and I'm now hurriedly trying to get them available. Okay, 26.92 seconds is the reload time. Let's get the recording up. 630 alpha actually, and 39mm of penetration. Now this Arty was actually quite successful. They did actually sell it to many other nations, and so the French actually did have quite a decent little SPG. First one is a direct hit. Okay, standard reload is 30.58 seconds, so he's managed to knock 4 seconds off. Even with the stock gun, this tank's quite good. This Arty. Down's out the Tiger. Oh, RNG really let Wazwulf down there because his shell fell well short. And looks like that Tiger's hugging that rock for the moment. Now he's focusing on the guys coming up the railway line area. Tiger's making a big mistake because that landed right next door to him. Again, RNG let Wazwulf down. But if that Tiger stays where he is going to suffer considerable damage. Meanwhile, over on the west side of the map, we've got a Cromwell who got spotted. And he's dived into the ditch, so to speak, or the depression in the ground. Trying to work out where the Striv 74 was going to go, and unfortunately he didn't pull back as far as Wazwulf anticipated, so he had to leave that one. And the moment he got back to the other side, oh, Cromwell in sight, rounds out, looks perfect. Oh, good hit. Not a pen, but it is a really good hit. 314 hit points, which is a non-pen high roll. Actually, is it a high roll? Actually, technically speaking, it's a low roll, but only by 1 hit point. Okay, Cromwell beat up on top of the hill, but the P43 Biz attracts Wazwulf instead. That should be about right. Yep, looks perfect. And 31 hit points from a splash. He did change direction as he was pulling back, which probably mean that he was Arty aware. And I think he did get warning that the shell was on the way in. So he's probably got that 6th sense set up, or rather the warning detection to tell him that the shell is headed his way. Normally you just have to listen for the noise if you haven't got it. The noise will actually tell you if something's inbound. Oh, Cromwell B decides to stop suddenly. And that fooled us. So it looks like the enemy tanks up on the hill are aware of what's going on. And, well, others are trying to indicate, go south. The Polak tank is trying to tell to everybody else, go south. Head south. Down the west side of the map. That T-52 is doing his team a service by going into the bowl, because he will be spotting some of our guys. And they're pulling back again. This is not good. And a direct hit on the T-52, so he didn't actually move after he went into the bowl, and now he's taken a big hit and he's still stunned. Our T-52, well, we've got 2 of them. One's moving up onto the bowl, and he should be able to get a shot on that guy. But instead, he just pops up, takes the shot, and then pulls back again. That's a pity, because he could have gone in there, but here we go. Wazwulf, take him out. Yep, nice shot. So he's got his first kill of the game. Oh, and that's a rumble of Arty firing in our direction. Yeah. And we lost one of our crew members, and we need that crew member back in. So he's going to have to use the first aid kit to put the loader back in. Otherwise, the reload time goes up tremendously. So the enemy SU-8 knows where we are, but he'll have to keep watching now to see where we move to after each shot. Because, of course, Wazwulf won't stay in the same position each time. I'm afraid it looks like our team here is not doing so well. Even though we're one up on the enemy, they're just not pushing at all. P43 Biz pulls back, and we're going to miss this one. Yeah. So he has to change position, because otherwise we'll get another shell crater. In fact, actually, we can look and see, because I'm pretty sure if the SU-8 is firing at counter battery, then he will spot where that last shot came from. Instead, he's not firing counter battery, and we're going to go through the P43 Biz again. When he's firing blind, and now you need to change position, because if you stay here, yep. That's just all you need. A small change sideways will fool most players. And we've got a KV-1S now almost fully dialed in. Rounds out straight away, and lovely hit. 281. And he's picking up loads of stun assist, and he's moving sideways to change his position. And that looks good. Now, the enemy have pushed up on the east side of the map. They're down from the hill, but our Jackson is the other side of the railway line. He's just proximity spotted the 5916. But of course, that means the Jackson spotted to the enemy Arty. And the bad news there is, obviously, we're going to lose that Jackson very shortly unless he keeps moving. He's not moving that much, not enough. The SU-8 will definitely be firing at him. And in fact, now T-52 and the P-43 Biz have turned up. And yes, the enemy Arty does fire in, but so do we. Trying to get shots on the P-43. At least we don't really have to worry about counter battery whilst we're focusing on this corner. And our teammates, well, because they didn't go further south, actually, they are able to defend. Okay, 5916 rounds out. Direct hit right in the front. Yeah, he was shaking the gun there. That was a pretty good shot, that one. Right on the money. Okay, P-43 Biz did get over the railway line. And the T-52 is pushing towards us, but he gets taken out fairly easily by the T-3485M. Meanwhile, we're laying a shell down on the P-43. And Arty's firing in our direction. Yep, missed. Yabu sucks. That's why he has this aim here. Yes, he's trying to tell them, aim at that spot. Okay, right, well, we've got another enemy tank, the 5916, the one he hit earlier. And he's gone. T-3485M claims him as well. He's got 3 kills now. Wazwulf's managed 1,500 hit points of damage. A Hellcat's coming towards us. Very, very silly move. He probably thinks he's smart, but no, he's not, because he's been tagged for 138. He got rid of his stun fairly quickly. And the Jackson's out. The Hellcat's going to pop up very shortly. He's just gone into that dip. The Cromwell's coming towards us to defend. And there's the Hellcat popping up near the 88. Trying to get shots on him. We're going to fire in. And, oh, no, we can't fire in because the dip. And the 88 takes the kill instead. Yeah, there's a dip in the ground there. And if we had fired, the shell would have gone into... And we need to move. Yeah, I was about to say, yeah, the 88 was the one who was taking the shell, not us. But you could hear the rumble. We're kind of trapped in this corner now. It's 4 against 5. Okay, the P43 biz is somewhere in that little dip in the land over here next to the railway line. We've lost sight of the strip, but he's probably behind one of the rocks or the bushes along the first ridge line. The Cromwell, he could be anywhere actually, and the Cromwell B, well, we haven't seen him since the hill. Now he's got 10 rounds left. 3 of those are heat rounds, so obviously he requires a direct hit to take out an enemy vehicle with one of those. But he has got 7 rounds of HE. There's still 4.5 minutes left on the clock. But 1,500 hit points of damage is still a very good total, actually. Hasn't got a whole lot of stun assist out of this game so far. But I suppose that's really because his teammates haven't been shooting at tanks that he's been stunning. Or at least not that much. Of course, in a comparable battle with an M44, you'd be blasting out shells every 15 or 16 seconds normally to get as much stun on the enemy vehicles. But of course, the stun does die away fairly quickly. Something I noticed which is kind of unusual is that Wazwulf's not using any premium consumables, and in fact he has a manual fire extinguisher on his Arty. I always consider that the manual fire extinguisher is a bit of a false security because it does rely on how quick you can hit that 6 button to put the fire out. Whereas an automatic fire extinguisher, at least, well, it will act almost immediately to save you. It's gone rather quiet on the battlefield now, hasn't it? I might as well tell you, whilst we're waiting, a bit about the AMX 13F3AM. They built 621 of them. It was in service from 1962 until the present. In fact, it's still in service with a few nations around the world, including Argentina, Cyprus, Ecuador, Kuwait, Morocco. The list goes on and on. It was actually quite an efficient little Arty because it was based on the AMX 13-ton chassis. And although not particularly fast, in the game it's got a 60 kilometers an hour top speed. As you can see, it's actually basically the hull with the huge howitzer mounted over the back. There's no turret, and there's only 2 crew members actually in the Arty, the driver and the commander. Everyone else goes in a truck where all the shells are kept as well. Although in the game obviously they have to put the modules in. And looks to me like he's doing a bit of counter battery at the moment, looking for any trace of the enemy Arty. I would always have a quick look towards those familiar bushes. Yeah, because he is down there. Our Cromwell's gone all the way down, and the enemy, well, they don't seem to be making any attempt to come forward. So the team have done the right thing to head towards enemy territory. And there's the SU-8. And he wasn't in the bushes at the back, he was actually a little further up. Oh! And the kill shot went to the 88 in the end, but at least Wazwulf had the chance to take him out. I guess the reason why this Arty was so popular was down to the fact that it was so easy to maintain. The AMX 13-ton chassis is actually quite efficient. Okay, spotting an enemy Strib 74, lining up a shot. The guy's going to have to stop to take aim. Rounds out, looks good. Oh, just overflew him. He must have seen that shell zip over the top of his head and thought, wow, Well, it saved him. Well, our team have got down the other end, but there's only just over 20 seconds left in the game. I don't think anyone's going to get a victory out of this one. It would be astonishing if the enemy was to try and kill our guys. In fact, I think they'd find it very difficult. Going for the Striv 74. Work out where to put the shell. That's it. Rounds out. Nice shot. 206, and the clock runs out. And that is the end of the game. Here's the end of battle stats, and that was the second class tank of a Wazwulf in the AMX 13F3AM. He managed to get a bruise, a medal for getting at least 5 critical hits. In fact, he got 11. And he got a Confederate because he hit more of the enemy than anyone else on his team. At least 6 tanks subsequently taken out by other teammates. In fact, he hit a lot of the enemy team, but unfortunately they didn't get a win because his team weren't venturous enough to actually get further south. 3,151 was the win 8 from that one, which is, well, super income standard, but unfortunately it didn't seem that the rest of his team were up to that scratch. So let's have a look at team score. Well, we can see that he actually did get the 3rd highest damage in the game because the top scorer was in fact the Cromwell B. He got a high caliber of 2,655 hit points. The Nashorn on Wazwulf's team got 2,168, and just a short distance behind him, Wazwulf managed to get 2,119. So you can see these 3 players were actually playing up to standard, but the rest of them were not. When it came to kills, the leader was the T-3485M on Wazwulf team and the Cromwell B on the enemy team. And when it came to base XP, oh, I should say that Wazwulf only got the 1 kill, but when it came to base XP, it was in fact the Cromwell B who did the best with 716. Well, you can see from the standard and the rest of his team were pretty poor. And in fact, actually, the T-3485M managed to get 520 and Wazwulf 478 in 3rd place. He fired 19 rounds in the game, got 6 direct hits on the enemy, but no penetrations. 12 splash, damage of 2,119 hit points, all of it at more than 300 meters. He did get 1 hit from the enemy Arty. Yes, he did get a big hit, actually. The guy managed to work out where he was and stripped away quite a lot of his hit points, but he didn't get a kill shot. And after that, he did try to counter-battery at least once more, but Wazwulf was able to avoid it. He hit 10 of the enemy. That's 2/3 of the enemy team. Got 1 kill and 43 hit points of damage assist plus 397 stun assist off 11 stuns. Again, his team weren't really shitting the tanks that he was stunning. 39,212 credits from the game, 15,000 for completing a mission, 5,907 for courageous resistance. That's because he got a Confederate medal in a losing or a drawn game. It was a draw. 60,119 credits altogether, and after repair and ammunition resupply took away 40,844 credits profit. 717 XP, 457 again for courageous resistance, took away 1,174 experience points altogether. He said when 2k damage isn't enough. Well, yes, but he and the other top players on his team were doing rather well. It's just the rest of them. They were a big disappointment in effect. And, well, you can see from this that only 5 members of their team actually managed to get over 1,000 hit points. The rest of them got very, very little indeed. And in fact, on the enemy team, it was even worse, because only 3 players managed to get over 1,000 and the rest were below. And yes, so very disappointing game. I think both teams were not up to scratch, but they did have a couple of top players in there, and Wazwulf was one of them, but it wasn't enough to change the course of the battle. So let's have a quick look at the armor profile for this vehicle. Okay, there you go. There's the armor profile, and you can see it is basically AMX 13-ton tank with without the turret. And if we put up the wrong one, that's it. Put the live model up again, because people like seeing where you can hit and where you can't. It's an AMX 13-ton tank. It's a light tank disguised as an Arty, or the other way around. And you can see that it's very thin armor, 15mm on that upper plate. In fact, the only chance you've got really of stopping any shells with one of these is if they hit the barrel or they hit one of the spots where you've got 40mm of armor. But other than that, anywhere on this vehicle is susceptible. You've got 20mm there, 15mm at the back on the gun supports. So it's very, very light on armor indeed, and you can pen just about anywhere. We look at the modules, and you can see that the engine's on the left-hand side on the front, as you can see, with the transmission directly in front of it. On the right-hand side, we've got the driver. If we look behind him, behind the engine, you've got the fuel tank, and deep down in the vehicle, they've put an ammo rack. In actual fact, most of the ammo was actually stored on the trucks that accompanied this Arty wherever it went. You've got the tank commander sitting just behind the driver, and that's correct. That's exactly what actually happens. If you look at the live model, you can actually see that there are viewports on both these spots, so that's where the only two internal crew are actually located. Radio sitting right next door to the tank commander. We've got the gunner sitting one side of the howitzer on the right hand side, so we're looking at it. On the other side, we've got two loaders working, and in actual fact they would have a much bigger crew. If you've ever seen any pictures of this thing in action, in fact it looks very much like the M777 in action whenever you see all the poles and everything being used to push the rounds into the breech and for it ready to fire. Yeah, they did have a much bigger crew, but in the game they've actually put only two loaders, a gunner, a tank commander, and of course the driver. So that's where the modules are. Very easy to hit them, but of course it is an open SPG, therefore just any HE round will do a lot of damage and take out the crew members. The one good thing that does come out of this game is the fact that Wazwulf managed to complete as many of the hit points as he could, or rather the battle pass points, and he can no longer use the AMX 13F3 AM to gain battle pass because he's fully completed it. But it was just very disappointing for him that 2k damage just wasn't enough to win a game, and yeah, it only got him a second class tank, which again shows the standard. In order to get a first class or an ace, you have to really go at it in the AMX 13F3 AM. If you enjoyed that replay, please give this video a like, do subscribe to our channel, leave a little comment down below because it feeds the algorithm. And please do bear with us whilst we're still trying to correct the settings for the sound. I know it must be very annoying listening to this and thinking, oh, it was much better in the past. But until I get the settings right again, I'm afraid I'll just have to keep pumping out these replays until I can find the right solution. Thanks for watching.